Oh my God.
I'm getting too old for this shit.
What a stupid basketball game we just watched. What a day. What a 24 hours, more specifically, a 10 hours in Knicks land from the moment a Steph Bondy piece was released to the moment Tom Thibodeau responded to the reaction to said piece by Steph Bondy to the basketball game that was played that ended up going into overtime to the Mikal Bridges buzzer beater that gave the Knicks a 1-point win. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Knicks Film School Postgame Show presented by BetUS. My name is Andrew Claudio, a.k.a. GMAC. The fine gentleman to my left, right, whichever way you're looking at it, is Mr. Shawn with a W. I thought we'd get the not important game, the Portland game, on the road trip when we were doing this together, and we ended up getting a pretty eventful one. Shawn, I wrote down notes for this game, and I want to just throw them out. Like, I have a shredder next to me. I might just shred them at a certain point. What a game. Just what a day, an evening of basketball into a night of basketball. What a wild game we just watched and witnessed.
You know, when during the Laker game, when it went down to the last shot, which we missed, for days I thought about, like, the Knicks, like, aside from Trent Tucker, RJ Barrett, and like J.R. Smith twice, the Knicks never hit buzzer beaters.
Yep.
Never. And that is and every time we've gone in, every time I've seen the Knicks have a chance to win at the buzzer, it's like it's not going in. But for some reason, when that ball left his hands, I said to myself, that looks good.
Mm-hmm.
And to your point, I had notes. I wrote down so much notes. Some of them are still applicable, but just throw it all out. Like, they found a way to win, even though they looked for ways to lose, but they found a way to win, and that's all that matters.
Look, I tweeted this out late in the fourth quarter because I leave this game half impressed by this very young Blazers team. Half impressed by, in that half is a very impressed by Scoot Henderson, who is starting to figure it out in year 2 of his career. And the other half, both missing Jalen Brunson and frustrated by a Knicks team who, look, there was some execution stuff. There's some Josh Hart, Tom Thibodeau stuff that will come up. But at a certain point, I tweeted out, just find a way to win. Just find the path to the W, however you got to get there. Because, yes, the details matter, and we're going to talk about the details tonight. Mm-hmm. But the big picture is the Knicks are now 2-2 on this road trip, a very brutal road trip that has taken them all across the Pacific Coast. And now they get to go to Golden State on Saturday, a team that's rolling at the moment. They do get 2 days off. Mm-hmm. But if you leave this road trip 2-3, it's at least respectable, and you lost your captain midway through, and then the schedule lightens up significantly. And look, I'm not going to write Saturday off as a loss. Maybe you win on Saturday, and it's a 3-2 road trip, especially after losing your captain. But as far as tonight is concerned, the big story, both before and after the game, Mikal Bridges, ladies and gentlemen. Mikal Bridges finishes with 33 points on 21 shots. His final line, 33 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists, a steal, a block, 2 of 4 from 3. Obviously, the second one was very big. A basketball game in which there were 42 lead changes, Shawn, the most in the NBA this year. Thank God it wasn't 43. 42 and only 42. Both on the defensive end. Oh, we should mention, because of what happened before the game, only 41 minutes for Mikal Bridges. So there you go. He listened. Tibs was all right, fine. You don't want to play a lot of minutes. I won't play you 47 or 48. You get 41. That's it. I just, what do you say about the fact that, of course, this ends on a Mikal Bridges 3?
I mean, the basketball gods have a sense of humor sometimes. And again, the Knicks don't hit buzzer beaters to win basketball games. But listen, we saw the Mikal Bridges tonight is if you want to say we saw the Brooklyn Bridges tonight, the guy that's like, all right, you're gonna be your lead creator, you're gonna be our initiator, you're gonna be the guy that makes it happen. That's the guy we saw tonight. I think that would have happened whether he opened his mouth or not tonight to the scrum. When about his comments, which I'm sure we'll touch on. I'm sure if we don't touch on it later, the super chatters absolutely will.
Oh, they will. Yeah, they will.
But the funny thing, I'm trying to look up here because at one point, how long did Mikal Bridges have 5 fouls? Because he
got his 5th foul late in the 4th quarter. It was a touch foul under 2 minutes. I believe it was on Scoot. That's what prompted me to tweet out that for a game where you've largely let everything go,
yes,
they called some soft fouls down the stretch. And the Knicks actually end up catching a break. So for me to complain about the officials, which I thought they had, the officials had an off night. Both teams were playing an aggressive game. So I get that you can't call everything. But they just decided at a certain point they were going to let them play, which is like, all right, fine. This is just going to be a dogfight. And then we got some contact fouls down the stretch, like some ones that were not being called, which is funny because in regulation they were called. And then in overtime, they largely choked on the whistle. I thought that the Scoot play where both Deuce McBride blocks of Scoot Henderson were going to be called fouls. And they let them play. But that's when Mikal got his 5th foul, around a minute and a half, 2 minutes left in the 4th quarter.
What if I told you he got his 5th foul with 5 minutes and 7 seconds left in the 4th quarter?
Really? It was that early in the 4th quarter?
I literally have the play-by-play, and I search for Bridges, the word Bridges, and I'm just looking, and I'm like, at 5:07, Mikal Bridges shooting foul. And then everything else I say is jump shot, free throw, assist.
I'm wrong.
He basically played the last 10 minutes and 7 seconds of the game with 5 fouls. And I bring that up because as I tweeted about after the Laker game, Luka played the last 6 minutes and 39 seconds with 5 fouls. There was a touch foul that found near the end of regulation against Mitch. That let them tie the game. I thought that was like, again, if you're gonna let them play like that, why are you calling that now?
Yeah.
The officiating left something to be desired, but I believe in controlling what you can't control. And there are certain things down the stretch the Knicks could have controlled that they chose not to, which why this post game would have been a little bit more somber. I'm looking at you, number 3. But hey, look, at the end of the day, they found a way to win. And for all the stuff that we've heard about this year, about this team compared to last year's team, and last year's team being gritty and grinding out wins and finding ways to win, and this team wants to be finesse, and if it looks tough, they let go of the rope. They have found a way. They found a way to win. They found a way to win. Well, one game they found a way to win because the Sacramento Kings, after like a quarter and a half, was like, you know what, we're done here.
Yeah.
But they found a way to win tonight against a Portland team that since that is not they're not your 2024 Portland Trailblazers. They're not the Portland Pivots. That again, and I'm gonna give a big shout out to Danny Moran because if you listen to the pregame show, everything he said manifested itself in his game tonight, including this team will take it to you every step of the way. And if you don't match their energy, and if you don't match the effort, they will take care of you. And the Knicks, and we'll get to it. There were a couple plays where I'm just like, dog, you can't let them do that. But they found a way, and they got the W.
So last 10. Actually, we'll go further. The buzzer beaters of this century. We obviously go back to January 6, 2022, RJ Barrett against the Boston Celtics. The 2 previous ones were about a month apart. Both by J.R. Smith, December 5th against the Hornets, December 26th against the Phoenix Suns. Then you got to go back to 2007, Stevie Franchise with a big buzzer beater during the first Isaiah Thomas year. I remember him standing on the scorer's table and thinking that this was like a big moment, and turned out to be the last moment of the decade that would matter for that Knicks team. Then back-to-back notable ones in 2006. They were, and I say back-to-back because they were literally back-to-back games. Stephon Marbury on December 18th with a layup on a outlet. So
he went like full court. It was like the full court.
Deron Williams, shout out if you remember that, old heads, hits a 3-pointer to put the Jazz up by 1 at the Garden, and Marbury releases on the baseline, and David Lee hits him, and he's now in transition with like 3 seconds left, and he lays it up and in at the buzzer for the win. And then speaking of David Lee, the next game against Charlotte, the 0.1 tip in from David Lee, maybe the coolest buzzer beater that you could ever hit, goes in. Then you get a No, that's it. Then there's Nate Robinson. There's Michael Sweetney. The Nate Robinson was a Saturday afternoon game. Allen Iverson in the building hits a 3 to tie it. And then Nate Robinson hits the 3. And Larry Brown gives him a big hug with, again, Allen Iverson on the other side. You get a Mike Sweetney buzzer beater, a Tim Thomas buzzer beater. Shout out to the broadcast tonight. Jamal Crawford with a buzzer beater. And then you got to go back to the 90s when John Starks hit one for the last one. So to your point, it's about like 9 buzzer beaters this century for this team. This is no Julius Randle, no Carmelo Anthony, no Jalen Brunson, no Mikal Bridges now joins the list of buzzer beaters here in Knicks history. So let's talk about Josh Hart. So Josh Hart finishes tonight with a final stat line. And I do want to point out that Josh Hart, I thought at stretches had like, that's like one of the biggest moments of the game. Like big offensive rebound to reset things and set up a cat 3 to put them up 104-98. I was like, okay. So all the Josh Hart spacing issues down the stretch, be damned. He still had a big offensive rebound to get them the big 3 to get them to seal the win. And then obviously other things happen. Finishes with 11 points, 11 rebounds, and 9 assists. A near triple-double. Goes 4 of 14 from the field, 2 of 6 from 3. And any Knicks fan that's been paying attention to this network, this channel, this podcast, as well as any Knicks fan that's just been watching for a couple months now how teams are playing the Knicks in crunch time, the Donovan Clingan go hide on just back away and dare Josh Hart to beat them strategy was in full display. And then, look, I actually thought the Knicks brought Josh Hart into the action. If the I would question Chauncey Billups if the blitzing was the smart play. Just play and drop if you want to. But there were moments where they blitzed and it was Josh Hart 4-on-3 and it led to good offense. But there were some moments down the stretch where, Josh, if you're going to play, you're just going to have to beat them. And he didn't really beat them when it was his time to shoot the ball. He missed a couple of straight on 3-pointers, missed a straight on midi that didn't look like it had a chance. Missed a corner 3. That was big. I get it. He played 42 minutes tonight. And I say all of this to then lead up to one of the biggest brain farts I've ever seen from a veteran. Just needs to inbound the ball. And if he does so, then like Mikal Bridges is shooting free throws up 1. And who knows how this game ends. I will also add Tom Thibodeau. You had 2 timeouts. The moment you see a struggle getting the ball in bounds, call timeout, advance the ball. I've seen too many games where Tom Thibodeau leaves the game with 2 extra timeouts, and you could have used one in that spot. Staring at the playoffs last year. The imperfections and the awesome, like, big rebound and big momentness of Josh Hart was on full display. And when they get their full complement of players back, when they get Jalen Brunson back, you hope that seeing these issues fully realized still don't continue to bite them. But down the stretch, it was very much like either Josh Hart's going to beat them or someone else is going to have to step up. They got 2 good looks from Cat from 3 and then a Mikal Bridges buzzer beater. And that's really it. Your thoughts on just the Josh Hart game that we just witnessed?
So with 2:30 left, Josh passed up a wide open 3. And honestly, of all the things, listen, Josh Hart has had some Space Cadet moments this season. Nothing angers me more when he passes up open shot. And I will continue to harp on that because the starting point guard said on international television, "I tell Josh all the time, shoot the ball." The I will shoot Josh a bit of bail, even though everyone knows you can only run the baseline after a made basket, not after a side out of bounds or a turnover, what have you. But even before that happened, what I was like, why are we calling timeout? Just advance the ball. Now, and that's on Tibs. That's also on Josh Hart because you're a veteran. If because Mike Breen said the Blazers did such a good job of defending an inbounds pass. Okay, I have 2 timeouts, and my one job is to inbound the ball. So, we got the full Josh Hart experience tonight. He did not take 7 threes tonight, so maybe
took 6.
He took 6.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but so I don't know how much PJ Tucker's going to yell at him in the post game in his locker room.
Yeah.
I'm just trolling.
Mm-hmm.
But these next, because I don't think we're gonna see Jalen Brunson before the 1st of April. These next 3 weeks, today's the 12th. Actually, today's now the 13th. So these next 18 days, Josh, get ready to learn shooting threes, buddy. You gotta be every team is now going to disrespect you. To quote Michael Irvin, nobody believes in you. What are you prepared to do about it?
What's funny is I agree that him passing up that 3, I think he settled for a mid-range, a 15-footer is what ESPN.com says. So yes, that midi annoyed me. I think just how poor he is as a shooter also hurt them tonight, because he did take 6 threes and a couple of them were down the stretch in the fourth quarter and in overtime. And it goes to, not only are we willing to see if you're going to shoot, but we're willing to allow you to shoot, and we'll send our center to also go guard Cat, which is why I like that they brought Josh into the action. The final play of the game was a DHO from Josh Hart to Mikal to have Klingon, who is not, whatever height they have him listed, it's a foot taller. That is the tallest human I've ever watched on television. I mentioned this on the pregame today, or I guess last night. Walking past him in Summer League, and you're walking past all NBA players at Summer League.
Yeah.
So obviously everybody's tall, but there was a different tall. It was a capital T when you see Donovan Klingon. And I just, the fact that Mikal got that shot up over Klingon was impressive. Bringing him into the action, I thought, paid dividends down the stretch. And listen, this is the tough part about it is you're involving Josh Hart in every action, and you're not involving Cat. Cat's 3 field goal attempts in that crunch time stretch were a 3 that he missed in overtime and the 2 threes he took because they were opportunistic about getting him the ball when the first one was just them finding him and he hit a 3 with a quick release. The second one was an offensive rebound with the defense scrambling that led to a Cat 3. So that's that again. It's like you said, it's the Josh Hart experience, both the positives of him getting those big rebounds and the negatives of him not being able to make teams pay as much as he needs them to. Now, this is a guy that's made a lot of teams pay in the playoffs. You hope those heroics come back, because he's going to get opportunities this upcoming playoffs. This is how every good team is going to play him this postseason. I don't want the monologue to go too long, because you are going to eventually have to go to your job in the morning, and we have a lot of people to get to, because this was an exciting basketball game. I'll just say I'll go back and forth. I'll start with OG Anunoby, who I thought did as okay a job as you could on Denny Avdia, even though Denny Avdia largely cooked tonight.
He did.
Yeah, Denny Avdia finished this night with 27 points, 15 rebounds, 5 assists on 18 shots. Anunoby finishes on 23 points, 7 rebounds, 3 assists, 8 of 20 from the field. I thought he showed a little fatigue at the end with the some of his jumpers. Like he overshot one and then missed a couple. I think he was at one point he was 3 of 5 from 3, finished 3 of 8. I liked you got what you needed from Anunoby, at least enough in the tank, even if you probably could have gotten a little more. But 23 points and a +8 in 43 minutes. So you gotta take that.
Absolutely. Shout out to Shaden Sharp, who was some big shots down the stretch. 21 points, 8 of 18. You don't love, but what have you. And honestly, Anthony Simons, 2 of 11.
That's Mikal.
That's
Mikal was largely guarding him tonight.
Yes.
And the other thing, so Deuce, I thought, was actually getting his lunch taken a lot on the defensive end by Scoot. Like Scoot had 18 points in the fourth quarter, finishes with 30 for the game. And then I was ready to say, you know what, this is why the Deuce and size argument has merit, because you put him on an island with a stockier guard and he might get bullied a bit. And then he has 2 very important defensive stops where he blocks Scoot Henderson and then forces the turnover that should have ended the game at the very end. So I thought he did a good job in that, even though I thought Scoot largely had his way with him in the fourth quarter. We should mention Karl-Anthony Towns, how he played tonight. How did you think he played tonight?
I think he played well. I think that I feel for him because it's a double-edged sword, because on one hand, it's like with this, wing on Cat, center on Josh, defensive alignment that teams are using, it kind of like takes Cat out of it minimizes Cat as an option down the stretch. But on the flip side, there are certain players, I remember when in 2007, when the Warriors when the We Believe Warriors beat the Mavericks, and they were doing these, and they kept running like Steven Jackson at Dirk Nowitzki and doing all these pesky things, whatever, right? And then obviously 4 years later, they win the championship, and I'm like, if they had tried that in 2011, Dirk would give them 40. Like, oh, you're gonna put this 6'8" guy on me? And part of me is like, Cat, you got to figure out a way to punish them for putting a 6'7" or 6'8" guy on you when you are 7 feet tall. So it's a double-edged sword. But I thought he played well tonight. He had a big block down the stretch. Again, when he hit that second 3 that put him up 6, I thought the game was over. But we will have to find a way to make sure that teams cannot just neuter Cat offensively just by putting a wing on him. And part of that's on Tibs, part of that's on Karl-Anthony Towns, and part of that is on Josh Hart to say, like, hey, we can't let them get away with it.
Yeah. It's a team effort. I agree. I would start with Tibs and say, you got to scheme this.
Yes.
But it also goes to like your captain, like your point guard has to figure out ways to get Cat in the action as well, to run the offense. And look, the way Josh Hart makes this a thing is if they're going to bring your center over to Josh Hart, you're going to be open a lot, dude. Like, make him pay.
Yeah.
Be a willing shooter, be an accurate shooter for sure, but it's what Nick Nurse did in the playoffs last year. And he had 3 consecutive games, 1, 2, and 3, where he hit 4 threes, and then hit the biggest 3 of the series where he sent them home. So
yes,
listen, we know the game plan. This is a sign of things to come, Knicks fans. Well, I thought Cat, for what he had tonight in 39 minutes, to be a +12, 21 points, 12 shots. Those, again, to your point, those 2 threes, I thought, oh, okay, curtains, like the biggest shots of the game when we needed it. So shout out to Cat tonight. It was a topic of conversation all afternoon, and we'll end with this. The bench playing as many minutes as they did. We saw a Precious, Mitch, Josh Hart lineup at one point in the second quarter. Now, I'm going to perceive that Tom Thibodeau, because Precious didn't play in the second half, just recognized he's shorthanded. And if this game ends in regulation, nobody plays more than 37 minutes.
Yes.
I guess 38. OG would have had 38. He actually wanted to stretch out his bench minutes just in the second quarter to, like, hey, just survive this so I can play my guys as much as possible in the second half. And ironically, Landry Shamet played 20 minutes tonight. Cam Payne got up to 15. Mitchell Robinson, I believe, his highest minute total of 19 minutes tonight. And then Precious with a -4 in 9 minutes, where I thought he was, again, just out there to be a water break for his guys. And with some better execution, with a minute left up 6, you're probably staring at a win where that strategy doesn't completely cost you. If I'm evaluating the bench in any way, it's that I think Landry Shamet's starting to gain more and more trust from the head coach, and you're seeing it again up to 20 minutes tonight. If that becomes a recurring thing that you can play Landry Shamet 20 minutes, then like the minutes police is just going to go away, because you're going to see like at max 37, 38 from one of the wings. But you'll have a balanced bench attack. So Landry Shamet would be my takeaway from the bench unit tonight.
I agree with you. I think like a couple of his shots looked good. He looked confident. He looked like he wanted to get to his spots. And it's like it's the chicken or egg theory. Is like, is he more confident because he's getting more minutes, or is he getting more minutes? Is getting more minutes leading him to be confident? But whatever, it's working, right? We have yelled and begged and pleaded for Tibs not just rely on 8 guys, but to play 9, and he did. Shout out to Kevin Danishevsky during the halftime with John. He had changed his name to Zoom to No More Precious Minutes, and John actually said that he didn't think that we see Precious in the second half, and I agreed, and that was the case. But listen, I'll say this: I think it's somewhat problematic that your backup point guard wasn't getting more minutes when your main point guard is out. Now, does this mean that Campaign should play 32 minutes? No, but if he is playing, like, he shouldn't be playing the same amount of minutes beforehand, especially if we all know
you're talking about Campaign backup point guard. Okay,
yeah, because we all know that Deuce is a wing in a point guard's body, that sometimes him getting us into the offense doesn't go as well as planned. So again, I'm not saying we should play Campaign 35 minutes a night or make him the starter or whatever, but play him more. And again, it's a chicken or egg thing. Do they play more because of confidence, or is it the confidence leads them to play more? But it was good to see Landry Shamet I'm with you. That was the biggest takeaway, because he looked confident. I think Jamal Crawford even said it during the broadcast. Like, he looked like he knew where his spot was. He worked to get there, and he got there, and he shot the ball confident. So hopefully we can see some of that. Hopefully we'll see more of that down the stretch. And then when Brunson comes back, hopefully it's not, all right, Lemon is back to 9 minutes a game. We can see more of that. Like, this team this team could use a strong 9-man option rotation in the playoff. Not like, we know in the playoffs, you know what Pat Riley says: bring 9, play 8, trust 7, whatever. Hopefully options are always a good thing.
Yeah, I guess the only other way to get Campaign more minutes, I mean, like, it's start him and just put a cap on him at like 25 minutes, and like you start, Deuce closes. You could, instead of Precious minutes, you can go to Tyler Kolek, and just kind of, you'd have to start one of them. Look, I have heard of the argument that, and this was the thing that led to the kerfuffle on Sunday's pod about Tyler Kolek, that because they've identified Deuce as an off-ball 2 guard, starting him at point guard is misguided. If you want to start Campaign, have Tyler Kolek be your backup, have Deuce close, and like Deuce plays his 30 minutes. I actually would rather have the better player. I think what you're seeing on the defensive end tonight, not even just tonight, the last 3 games, let me pull up the stats, but the Trailblazers had a 111.9 offensive rating, which is better than it got better as the game went along. But there was a world where this team was going to finish with 105 points or less than 100 points in regulation, and then that last stretch after 104.98 happened. I was actually kind of fine, but the Precious minutes are brutal, especially when he has to play with Cat. You're limited options right now, unless you want to play 8 guys without Jalen Brunson at this point in the season. So I looked at the Precious minutes. He played 5 minutes against the King, played 9 minutes tonight. These are backup minutes. Like, you're basically looking for him to give your starting center enough of a breather that he doesn't have to play the entire second half.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all I got.
He's an innings eater, like Benji always says. Go out there, eat innings.
He's a fifth starter. It's not even like a Bartolo Colon late stage or like a John Neese late stage. It's I'm trying to think of a Yankee example, but
I was trying to think of a Yankees example.
But it's like a Ramiro Mendoza, but like the bad version, the guy that isn't going to throw a postseason. So the Mets had a guy named Trevor Williams a couple years ago. Never pitched an important inning for them in the postseason, but like, oh, we just need you to come in and throw these 4 innings because we're setting our postseason rotation, something like that. Look, again, 42 lead changes. Thankfully not 43. The Knicks also, for the 3rd game in a row without Jalen Brunson, every one of their starters took at least 12 field goal attempts. So sharing the wealth a little bit, using a balanced approach to try and replace him. And big picture, the Knicks remain the 3 seed in the East and are 42-23. They are 8 wins away from their 2nd straight 50-win season. They are like there's 17 games left. If we're talking like if they go 10-7, that's a 52-win season. I'll say if they go 11-6, Robert Cross, that's a 53-win season. I think we can all find ways to enjoy a 53-win season.
Yes.
And anything before we get to the Super Chat, Shawn?
I think rumors and concerns of the demise of the Knicks as a 3 seed and the possibility of them dropping to 4, 5, or 6 have been ghastly overrated. Unless this team completely falls apart, and that's why I'll give all praise due to the coach. He does not let his teams fall apart. Save for a 20-game stretch in 2022, this team will be the 3 seed. Knock on wood.
Yeah. Okay, so we're gonna get to the Super Chats. We got some sponsors to get to a little later. In fact, hold on. That's right. We have an additional sponsor tonight, Shawn.
Hey.
Shout out to the fine folks over at Cornbread. Shout out to Cornbread. Life's been a little crazy lately, and one thing that helps some people unwind is Cornbread Hemp's CBD gummies. Have you been looking for a natural way to relieve aches and discomfort? The CBD gummies with Cornbread Hemp are formulated to work for your body, not against it. I'm not as young as I once was, but I care a lot about maintaining my physical and mental wellness. Have you tried everything under the sun for peace of mind? It sounds like it's time for you to try Cornbread Hemp's CBD gummies. Formulated to help relieve discomfort, stress, and sleeplessness. All products are third-party lab tested and USDA organic to ensure safety and purity. Right now, listeners of Knicks Film School can save 30% on their first order. Just head to cornbreadhemp.com/KFS and use code KFS at checkout. That's cornbreadhemp.com/KFS and use code KFS for your discount. Shout outs to Cornbread. Are you ready? Dive into the Super Chats.
I'm ready. Cornbread, send some product. All right, let's go.
We can arrange that if you'd like. So this first one came midway through the 4th quarter. Don't bother me. I'm busy. Because I know you'll find a way. He thought John was on the post game. So he goes, because I know you'll find a way to defend both Tibs and Hart in your monologue, I'll go the opposite direction. It's extremely hard to play offense when someone is being ignored as much as Hart. Asked and answered, busy. We didn't ignore either one of them, Tibs or Josh Hart, in the monologue. So well done in your assumption. We all know what happens when you assume. Or you make an assumption.
Busy, if you were following Knicks Film School on the app formerly known as Twitter, you would have known that it was me and Andrew on the post game tonight. And yes, you got your wish. In fact, when Busy accused you of being a lazy bum who doesn't work last week, you said you were doing the post game.
Yeah, me and Shawn
today.
will be on next Wednesday. Yeah.
So bad job by you, Busy, not paying attention. That's a bad job by you.
Yeah. So this is from John Macri on said website. In the you can't write this shit department, Knicks Blazers featured 42 lead changes, which is the second most since the NBA began tracking play-by-play data in 1996. The game with the most, Nets versus Hawks in 2023, which had 43 lead changes, and ended on a game winner by Mikal Bridges.
Hey,
That's insane. That is an insane stat.
F them picks.
Yeah. I thought a lot about those picks today. I'll just say that. Thank you, Busy. Another one from the Peanut Gallery, Parrish Duggar. Win or lose, much better situational coaching Tibs. I can't tell if you're saying like much better like good job Tibs, much better situational coaching, or you're asking for Tibs to have better situational coaching.
So he sent this before the game ended.
Mm-hmm.
I think he sent it. I think he sent it in overtime. And I saw it was like he's saying like Tibbs did a better job down the stretch.
Okay. The only non Josh Hart lineup spacing issue thing for Tibbs I have down the stretch is the timeout. Like call timeout when Josh is struggling to inbound the ball. But I love that he's just like it's automatic. Okay, I need a defensive stop. Cat, you're out. Like Mitch, you're in. And now that he has that at his disposal, we're gonna see offense for defense subs all throughout the playoffs. Yeah. So I mean, it's again the any frustrations you have with Tibbs for the fourth quarter tonight or the stretch run tonight are the ones many have had throughout the season. That it's like there's just no room to operate. Cat is basically being taken out of your offense, and it's just a lot of Josh Hart. We will see when they get their captain back if anything changes, especially come playoff time, when maybe he pulls that card where he recognizes what teams are doing and wants to get Cat more actions, and we see Deuce close for Hart some games. I would assume, I would predict no, but I guess we'll find out what happens come playoff time. Thank you, Parrish, for the super chat. Robert Cross, the legend of GMAC. Think we need more emergency live streams. Am I right? If this is what happened when we finally do an emergency live stream, Robert, then yes, we need more.
Well, considering the trade deadline has passed, any emergency live stream at this point won't necessarily be for good news. So I don't know if we need any more. So because it's either going to be so-and-so out for the year, knock on wood, or someone said something, or someone lost their job, whatever. So I don't know if we need more emergency live streams, although it's hilarious. When I saw the emergency live stream, I immediately thought of you, Robert, because you will ask for an emergency live stream for I'm not going to say the most minute reasons, but for reasons that may not rise to the level of a DEFCON 3.
Can I add to the craziness of that thing John read, that the last time there was 42 lead changes in a game was in 2023 when the Nets beat the Hawks and Mikal Bridges hit a game winner? You know what the final score of that game was?
Let me guess. 114-113.
114-113. The exact same final score, too.
That's when Mike Breen said, because he announced that there were 34 lead changes, some like late in the fourth. I said, that's a lot of damn lead changes for a game. Like usually you get like 16, 17 in a normal back and forth game that's close down the stretch. It's like 16, 17. 34 is literally like ping pong, ping pong, ping pong. It's a crazy game. Game.
Yeah. Now we're in the stretch where the game had already stopped or ended, I should say. The pandemonium had begun. From Mr. Fabro, send Brooklyn more picks in all caps. I'm glad this ended on a half. This evening was very, very disconcerting, frustrating. The Knicks haven't had any nonsense like this that wasn't on court X's and O's related. Like I know, like I get it. Like we analyze everything at Knicks Film School from every perspective. Some of this stuff is fan generated. Like I couldn't remember the last time a player actually caused something like this. Whether like the merits of Mikal's argument or not, that we were actually talking about a Knicks story that was off the court, that wasn't like a fan on Twitter said this about this, and we were just reacting to that because the team is so well run and competent. I'm very glad this is not just that the Knicks won, but the way it ends is like, oh yeah, who cares? Mikal Bridges said a thing and then he hit a buzzer beater, and Tom Thibodeau called the last play for him as a result. So it ends up working out in the end. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Oops.
Speaking of Brooklyn, there is a line from the late great Notorious B.I.G. from Sky's Limit, where he says, "Even when I was wrong, I got my point across." And
Mm,
listen, sometimes you gotta shake something up to get your point across. Sometimes you gotta push the button. Not all the time, but sometimes you gotta push the button. So what Mikal said didn't anger me as it angered some members of the Knicks fan community and maybe some members of the KFS faculty. But whatever. Like at the end of the day, if you perform, that's what matters the most. And when we need him to show up, he showed up tonight.
thank you, Mr. Fabro from Deadward 604. And he did it all with 5 fouls since late in the fourth quarter. Bravo, Mikal. Yeah, you echo what Shawn said earlier.
10 minutes and 7 seconds with 5 fouls and did not get the 6. I have to go back to see how many times he was in actions, because if he was in actions a lot, then that's a great job by him. If he wasn't in actions enough, which I highly doubt, then that's a bad job by Chauncey Billups, who's done a better job. But listen, bravo, like a guy like that who's gonna be guarding guys in the wing to stay out of foul trouble. Although maybe the refs owed him one, because there were like 1 or 2 like ticky tack fouls that he caught. Like I think his 4th foul was very ticky tack, and I was like,
Yeah.
Oh, it kind of evened out.
I thought it's interesting you bring up the Chauncey Billups of it all, because I was thinking it like, wow, they're really not involving Bridges in a lot of actions in the fourth quarter and in overtime, and it's because Scoot was largely having success against Deuce. And I thought about, and there was one point where I was like, man, how is Deuce still guarding him? And then it's like, oh, Mikal has 5 fouls, so that's the calculation Tibs is making. Like, I'm just gonna need Deuce to get a stop here. Look, they're up 104-98 with a minute and a half left, and then Scoot banks in a 3. Like, at a certain point, you tip your cap to the basketball gods wanting you to play an overtime game. Thank you, Deadwords. Andy McCabe, which is a super chat donation. Thank you, sir, for the contribution. Meki Jedi, thank you for the contribution. You got 2 from Meki. So many times these shots have happened against us over the years. Happy it was Mikal. Happy he deserved it, and we need him confident. We are learning. And then another one, double bang from Breen. Not sure it's deserved, but we'll take it. Maybe a sign of things to come for Bridges. I'm going to say it did deserve it. This warranted a double bang.
Yes.
The last big shot like this for the Knicks was the Julius Randle. We were on playback for that one in Miami, and that was a double bang. I thought this was double bang worthy for a buzzer beater, especially since we just talked about how there's like 5 this century or 8 this century. It's absolutely warranted. So thank you for the contributions, Meki. But I thought personally that it was warranted. As far as hopefully this is a sign of things to come for Bridges. I would just say, hopefully this is how you turn a negative into a positive. This stretch without Brunson, learn how to play without him, so he doesn't have to play 48 minutes in the playoffs. And there can be stretches you go to lineups without him that can be successful.
2 things. One, the first ever Mike Breen double bang was a regular season game, and it was not a buzzer beater. That was the Steph Curry behind the glowing 3-point line in Oklahoma City. Listen, if the Knicks hit a buzzer beater, we can get a double bang. Second, listen, the hopes of a more egalitarian offense should not die when Captain Clutch comes back. Now, it doesn't have to be, all right, Jalen, go stand in the corner while we do this thing. But, make Jalen's job easier. Like, we shouldn't, let's move away from save us 11 for the last 5 minutes of a game. Yes, last possession, maybe next last possession, that's one thing, but it doesn't necessarily have to be like figure something out. Oh, and by the way, figure something out with the guy next to you that doesn't want to shoot the ball. Like, let's figure out ways to make Jalen's life easier, because to your point, we just can't depend on him playing 48 minutes a game and just doing everything down the stretch, especially as a small guard.
Stats have updated on NBA.com, by the way. In the last 4 games, the one that includes the Laker game and these 3 games since Jalen Brunson got hurt, The Knicks have a 107.7 defensive rating. It's a 4-game sample, so you don't make too many conclusions with it. But that's 4 good defensive games, and it would be good for the 3rd best defense in the league. Now, 107.7 would be the best defense in the league, period.
Yes.
But over that stretch, to have a defensive rating of 107, 108 is really good. And that's what I'm hoping from this stretch without Brunson is now you're going to have 4+ defenders on the floor. The offense, I mean, I'm staring at it's 110, which isn't great. The offense over that stretch would be 26th in the NBA at 110 even. So that's going to have to get better. But if for those stretches that you're playing without Brunson, you have 4+ defenders and you're just playing the not prevent offense, but you're playing the defensive game. You're playing that card of I'm going to try and make sure they don't score, and then I'll get my closer back in to take us home. Sounding good things to come, hopefully. I agree with you, Mecky. Manny Campos. Shawn, read this one.
Let Mikal say whatever he wants. Manny, I agree. Listen, if you talk the talk, you better walk the walk, and he walked the walk. Again, I'm not as been out of shape over these comments partially because he said some things that I've kind of been intimating on these airways for a while. So hey, listen, if he missed that shot, or not even if he missed a shot, because I think to crush him if he missed that shot would have been harsh. But if he had a stinker tonight, he would have got put through the ringer.
I don't think is anybody making a stink about the merit of Bridges' argument, or is it just that he made it public?
I think there's some people that are making a stink about what he said. Like, listen, there is a significant part of the Knicks fan base population that thinks the minutes doesn't matter. Even our own Kevin Denishevsky has said, I'm not worried about Josh Hart's minutes. He's fine. He's an Iron Man. I'm like, you need the same Josh Hart who pulled his abdominal muscle in the playoffs last year. So I think those people are probably like, there's not a problem. Be quiet. But I do think the larger conversation is that why did you make this public? And I could understand why that would want to be kept in house.
Yeah.
However, I've heard players say, I'll say this. Josh Hart said there are players on this team that have egos and agendas, which literally led to people doing Zapruder film breakdowns of what certain players are doing to figure out if they were being selfish. Like, you can't tell me that helped the team. Like, that could have been kept in house. So why is it that was like, well, that was fine, but this, I'm not equating the two, but what I'm saying is saying that having smoke for one and not having smoke for the other is weird unless you just like one and don't like the other. And listen, when one guy gets traded for 5 picks and is not giving the output that many people expected him to give, he's going to catch more smoke than the other guy.
So the pushback I'll give is what Josh Hart said, as cryptic as it was, it ends up being like, a thing for Twitter to try and figure out. He didn't call anybody out directly. Like, he gave something for a place that at the end of the day doesn't actually affect the Knicks locker room. Like, as much as we like to think, Shawn, as much as we like to think that what we say on a website that is run by somebody who has a position in the government, like, matters to these folks on the court, it doesn't. At the end of the day, though, calling out your head coach absolutely undermines the entire operation. And it's just something that we haven't seen from anybody on this team since Quentin Grimes said the ball weighs 1,000 pounds and then lost his job to Jalen Brunson's roommate, like actual college roommate. So it's why I really don't think there's a comp that the two are equal in any way. And I think, look, I don't have an issue with what Mikal said on merit. I just wish it would have stayed in house. I also don't know. I don't know how much it matters now, even. Like, they won, and they it's not like he was dogging it tonight. It's not like Tibs was petty and was like, all right, here's 25 minutes. You asked for it. It just is a thing that can only lead to distraction. And that, at the end of the day, is what you're trying to avoid.
So I agree with you. I'm not saying that they're equal. What I am saying is that both of them can lead to the same undesired result of tension in the locker room, because people can be like, passive aggressiveness doesn't always go over well. So
Mhm.
so a teammate could be like, "Why'd you say that shit to media? Why didn't you just say it to me in the locker room?" Whatever, right?
What if
Look at
he
all
did
the
though?
times.
What if he did though? What if he did say that shit to him in the locker
And
room, but didn't say it publicly?
and to the Josh Hart thing, what if he? Wait a minute, you're saying that?
I'm saying, what if Josh Hart did
Mhm,
say that to the person in the locker room, but
mhm.
just said the egos and agendas thing to Twitter?
Well, I think that at the same time, if you say something to that teammate and then go out and make a passive aggressive comment publicly, I as a teammate may feel aggrieved and be like, what is this LeBron passive aggressive bullshit that you're pulling? So all I'm
Mhm.
saying is, I'm not equivocating the two, but they both can have the same result. And because they can have the same result, I'm not going to say one is better than the other. But to your point, saying, "Hey, I told the head coach these ideas and he's not doing it."
Yeah.
Did that? Yes, I can understand why you'd want that to keep that in house. And I will say, and let me make this clear. I totally understand why you'd want to keep that in house.
Yeah. I I just think there's mystery to what Josh Hart said. And
Hmm.
like, it would be one thing if he was like, "Hey man, some guys just got here and got a bag and we need them to step up," like,
Yes.
he left it very much up to interpretation. And Mikal almost said, "Oh yeah, I'm the reason that we're actually seeing bench minutes now." And I think that has much more significant ramifications. It also questions the person up top, which, newsflash, people in the media have been doing that a lot over the last couple of weeks,
Yes.
especially of the Knicks and their minutes conversation. And that's the thing. Like, it also hit a third rail of the Tibs conversation, and everybody that has wanted a W and to dunk on the guy. Which, look, we've been critical of the minutes and some of the schematic stuff of him. He's deserved criticism for some of the decisions he'd made this year. I just don't think they're the same thing, in my personal opinion. I think I do agree with you that saying anything to the media can be taken that way. It would be one thing, again, if Josh Hart made it very clear who he was alluding to. I think there are people who still don't know who he was talking about today,
Mhm.
you know?
And again, I don't think they're the same. I do think they can have the same result. The other thing I will say is, the reason why it's a third rail is because, again, this is something that's followed Tibbs' entire career, and now we finally get a player who
Yeah.
says what many people have been thinking. Like Karl-Anthony Towns, who's played with this guy for two different teams, hasn't said this. Jimmy Butler doesn't say it. Like Luol Deng, who people use as use as the poster child for like the overuse, he hasn't said it. Joakim Noah hasn't said it. Derrick Rose, who he hasn't said it. So now, like,
But the Iron
it's
Man is
yeah,
like,
the
"Hey,
smoking,
I'm
yeah,
playing too much." Like,
the
and
smoking. Now you have a smoking gun.
right. And that's where the actual merits of it, I do agree with you that it's like, oh, in house, there's also frustration with the minutes. And that's what we've always said. Like, hey, we can complain about it, media can complain about it. Does it actually affect the players? And if
Mhm.
the guy who's played the most is like, yeah, it takes a toll on your body. They should probably play the bench a little more. So well,
Yeah.
I don't think we did the conversation justice.
Yes.
Yeah,
One
go
more
ahead.
thing, and we'll end it. I would say that it's the minutes conversation matters more now than it did 4 years ago, because 4 years ago we were just trying to be relevant. So it
Mhm.
was like, why are you complaining about the minutes you're playing? But now that we have bigger fish to fry, it becomes more relevant. Like, this is, say, for the 2011 Bulls, this is probably the closest Tom Thibodeau has come to like reaching the ultimate goal. And everything that everything he's done in the past, maybe, I don't say he should do it differently, but like, we can't just have the same approach. And
Yeah.
again, now we have a smoking gun because we have someone who has said what many people have been thinking. And I think, to your point, that's what really caused a kerfuffle. Because if Landry Shaman said this, we tell him to shut the hell up.
Well, right? If Landry Shaman's like, I wish I was playing more. Campaign was like, Campaign's a vet, so maybe that goes to it. But it's the guy that is somewhat indispensable that you gave up the most for. You know, not indispensable, like. Because he got traded for so much, you're now stuck with like, you got to make this work. There's no getting equal value for Mikal Bridges. Like talking to John about this before the game tonight, he's like Kevin Durant, and like, yeah, they'll if it goes so sour that he asks out and you have to explore that, they'll enter the Kevin Durant sweepstakes. I don't know how another team isn't just beating that offer, and if the solution isn't just get a new coach, like that's probably how this goes. Which also goes to the next level of why Mikal's comments matter significantly more. This may end up being a coach on a hot seat, and this is the first match that was lit for said seat to be hot. Yeah. It's funny you mentioned that we were just trying to be relevant, and now there's bigger pictures. I was thinking this in the third quarter. Like, why am I not like, this is a close game? I'm like, this is a good Portland team, and I'm just like, I can't get up for this game because of what happened before it. And then, of course, the end of the game happens, and I'm just like thrilled that the Knicks won a very thrilling basketball game that we're going to remember, you know? But yeah, the bigger picture has mattered. So anytime you're trying to maximize winning every game, it's mattered less this year because talent alone, this is a 50-win team. So, okay, let's get back to the super chats. I am AK Legend. The irony, he played 41 minutes today and made it above the big 3 for the win. God love him. Let's go Knicks. I will settle for scoreboard being my retort here. I know you're joking. I am AK Legend. All that matters is he made the last one. As I mentioned, 42 lead changes. It wasn't 43. So thank you. I'm just gonna say I'm Legend. Next up from Yanni Gollin. Hello, Yanni. That was a fun game. First time all year. I really feel good about Mikal. Hart on offense is a real issue. Let's go, Knicks. Yeah, we talked about it.
This is the first time.
This. What's up?
This is the first time. Like what? Christmas. I remember Christmas Day. I felt good about Mikal.
Felt good about Mikal. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, the Hart thing. We talked about this.
Yeah.
As far as the good about Mikal thing. Because of the fact that of the drama that happened before the game to now the dramatic ending to the game, you would hope it's like, hey, remember the day in Portland? That was the turning point. So, you know, you'd hope. Also, Yanni, I love you. This is a person that a week ago told me that this is worse than pre Leon Rose. So, has had times to react, but this is a positive super chat. This is a positive reaction. I hope there are many other times that you feel good about Mikal Bridges, aside from the Christmas game and this one.
Agreed.
Yeah. I'm gonna let you read this next one.
Kevin Danishevsky, thank you for your generous contribution. Holy shit. I know it hasn't been a great year. I know there's some dissension right now. Unless there's a marked upgrade, don't trade that guy. Finals proven. All right. Kevin.
Go ahead.
I know that Mikal is your hill to die on. And he is your prince that was promised because you were promising him to all of us for God knows how long. And we told you shut the hell up. Now, to Andrew's point earlier, he is, because of the price paid to acquire him, may be the most indispensable player on the roster, not named Jalen Brunson. And by the way, he knows it. With that said, anybody can get it. If that guy can get us a superstar, guess what? I will drive him to JFK myself. I would also say that year one of the championship contending Knicks was always going to have some bumps, and I would love to see what a proper offseason with this team together, where they can sit down and figure out a way to maximize everyone's output and to put everyone in best position to succeed. So there, I agree with you. I wouldn't trade him for that, but let's settle down.
He did say unless there's a marked upgrade, like a very clear upgrade. So I want to give Kevin that credit.
Yes.
However, what I agree with you on, Kevin, you needed that last three to fall more than anybody. Like after the day your boy had, although he did have 30 points and he did have a very good basketball game. Look, I hope, and this goes to how this season's going to end. I hope we're sitting here 2 months from now and, well, okay, I hope we're sitting here 3 months from now and the Knicks are in the finals, right? But I hope if, God forbid, this season ends and it's before the NBA finals, that so many good vibes and positive things came out of that stretch they played without Jalen Brunson. It got Mikal Bridges going. It saw a return to the ball movement that we were seeing earlier in the year. It showed how they could play without Jalen Brunson during stretches of games. And it led to an effort in the postseason where they made quick work of a team that were better than in the first round and a solid effort against Boston in the second round. And we're like, you know what? Run it back. Like marginal upgrades, but run it back. And then, you know, we've got 1 year of Mikal Bridges, and you get a whole offseason where an assistant coach can get with him. And obviously there's an extension conversation to be had, but there's a way this season ends, and it's not like, okay, a significant change needs to happen. It can just be, hey, that was year one. Now let's improve on year one. And that's what to the spirit of what you're talking about, Kevin. I'm hoping we're not sitting here at the end of this year being like, hey, it's either we got to fire the coach or we got to trade Mikal Bridges. And I think they would go the first before the other. But yeah, I'm hoping that we're not having any more Mikal Bridges trade conversations in the not too distant future.
Kevin was yelling in the chat, like, read what I said, a marked upgrade. Let me tell you this. If we can trade Mikal Bridges to make this team better, that's not a superstar, I'm doing it.
Yeah.
Ain't nobody above that. So I saw that in the chat. Also, the chat is also shitting all over the always Celtics, and I'm absolutely here for it.
I'll let you keep reading them.
Hushdu. Sorry. Hushdu, thank you for your generous contribution. Mikal Roller Coaster Bridges, this is your night. Let's go Knicks. Yes, he is a roller coaster tonight. Let's just hope that against Golden State, which low key is maybe one of the biggest games of the year, because there's someone on that team that if I see PJ Tucker check into the game on Saturday night, I know why. But for tonight's a pretty big high. So shout out to him.
Next from Logan Bartlett. Thank you, Logan, for the super chat. Are we allowed to say that Brunson out now might be a good thing for us come playoff time? As long as it's not they're better without Brunson, yes. And that's what we've been saying. Like, you can turn a negative into a positive if you learn. Like, that's the whole Tibs thing. You win or you learn. Mm-hmm. If you turn this stretch into this is how they figured out, like, how to activate Mikal more often, how to get OG more involved in the offense, how to feature Cat. Like real talk, they're going to have to learn crunch time without Jalen Brunson, who has largely saved them in a lot of clunky crunch time offensive spots over the course of the second half of the season. So that's where I'm at, Logan. Like, yes, you could say that as long as it's not there's no Ewing theory. There's no, like, are they better without him? You can learn to play without him, which I think is what they're going to have to try and do.
Yeah. And honestly, I would say this, in 2012, when Chris Bosh got hurt in the playoffs for the Heat, it actually opened up. It actually made life a little easier. Not life a little easier, but like, you know, you replace Chris Bosh in the corner with Shane Battier, and then it gave what's this guy? It gave LeBron more driving lanes, whatever. And I think Eric Spoelstra always talks about it all the time, like that figuring out how to play that way really was instrumental to them winning the championship. So obviously they're not. Obviously, they weren't gonna be like, oh, we don't need Chris Bosh anymore. But it's like, oh, we can play slightly differently.
Mm-hmm.
And to your point, this team, hopefully now this team, Tom Thibodeau has another card to pull down the stretch in the playoffs, based on certain situations, and because he has saw the reps in real time in live for him to trust it.
This is why, like, I'll never approach macro levels of frustration about the Tibs conversation, but some of the, like, he's not a good coach, he doesn't know how to coach, like some of the ignorant stuff that gets thrown his way when he's like clearly a good coach that has some stubborn tendencies, and sometimes they work to your benefit, sometimes they don't. Like, that's a way you can evaluate a coach and a person in charge in general. But like, his two most impressive coaching jobs are last season when they were so banged up and there was so much roster turnover and they still won 50 games, and the Joakim Noah fourth and MVP year where he didn't have Derrick Rose the entire season and just completely revamped the team to a place where, like, so there's the year they beat the Nets in the first round, and then there's the year they got to the second round and lost to LeBron and the Cavs that first year. Like, this is a coach that knows how to, when you're given a shit situation, that usually finds a way, a path to success. And the bad year he had with us in 2022, like, he was on it very early that Kemba Walker is probably cooked and benched him in December. Mm-hmm. And then COVID happened, like Omicron happened, and the Knicks had 3 players available. Kemba had the player of the week from heaven, and it got him put back into the rotation. And unfortunately, we were privy to a long stretch after that where Tibbs's better inclinations were there, and that's what tanked that season. I think other than that, he's largely been able to at least create a floor where the bottom doesn't fall out. And I'm hoping that same thing happens now without Brunson, that they're able to turn this into these lemons into some fine lemonade.
And go ahead. And I'll say this really quickly. I think the most frustrating part about Tibbs is that, what we say about rent due Tibbs versus rent paid Tibbs. Mm-hmm. It's like, we know it's there. Like, we know it's there. But the same way how RJ Barrett would play great for a stretch of 10 games, make the right plays, all of a sudden decide, you know what, I'm just going to start bulldozing my way into the lane and getting my shit boarded. And it's like, why does he keep going back to that? Because, like, that's what he wants to do. Like, Tibbs, this is what he wants to do. Like what he always does, right? So I think that's what frustrates people. That's what let me speak for myself, because I don't believe Tibbs is a bad coach at all. I think those people who say that have an agenda and an axe to grind, and they can go to hell. But the most frustrating part is that he has the ability to do these things. He just doesn't really want to. But to your point, there are many decisions Tibbs has made that in hindsight we were like, damn, he knew it. He was right.
Yeah. Next up from Sam Garcia's dad, 42 minutes. Obviously not too many. Who knows, if he had played 44, maybe he misses that shot, but exactly the amount of minutes. So thank you, Ray. Bill Peterfriend, that was worth staying up for one game. Go Mikal. After that controversy today, damn. 14:30 is what I'm looking at on the amount of people here watching between Twitter and YouTube. Thank you, everybody, for staying up late with us, or just staying up with us on the West Coast as well, or around the world, wherever you're watching. All I know is that anytime we have a big game, Shawn, no matter what time it is, it's a good bet that Knicks fans will tune in to the Knicks Film School Postgame Show, because they support their team. They support us with undying loyalty. And speaking of good bets, shout out to the fine folks over at BetUS Sportsbook and Casino. Did you know, Shawn with a W, Mr. Hardie, mm-hmm. Did you know that BetUS now has a casino?
I did not.
You didn't? Well, for all of our followers who like slots or live casino dealers, take advantage of BetUS's amazing sign-up bonus. 200% up to $5,000 or 250% for crypto sign-up bonus up to $5,000. Get ready for a rush with the BetUS Casino. Generous promotions and tournaments make every play even more rewarding. Sign up now and experience the difference. As always, use promo code YouTube150 to receive a 150% bonus on your first deposit, as well as a 125% bonus on your next 2 deposits up to $2,000. A reminder, gambling involves risks. Please only gamble with funds that you can afford to lose. All forms of betting carry financial risk, and it is down to the individual to make bets with or without the assistance of the information provided. Moving on with the program. Will Oliver, you got this.
Thank you, Will, for your generous contribution. Apologies to my neighbors for the scream I let out. Will,
what noise did you make?
What noise did I make? It was like a ah,
yeah,
and which it was like that was a little louder. And then I remember like my wife and son are sleeping. I'm in my basement and they're 2 levels above me, so it wasn't that loud. It wasn't that elongated, but I definitely let out a scream because again, we don't win games like this.
I was not expecting it to go in. I was very much of the like, damn, I'm gonna have to do a depressing post game. And then Mikal saved me from that depressing post game. So I'm lucky enough that I have no neighbor that way, and a wife that just like I could make all the noise in the world. It's apparently like I'll watch movies sometimes when I'm out here editing or watching. Like I'll have the TV at whatever volume and just dead to the world. So I'm lucky enough in that sense. I apologize if my upstairs or downstairs neighbors do hear me. Come say hi. I'm in this little closet studio on the 3rd floor. Shout out Will. Thank you for the contribution. Benny Bills 26. 5 firsts was not enough for Bridges. Need more minutes. Need more minutes. That'd be funny if the takeaway here is like, see, you needed to get to 40 in order for you to perform at your best. Mikal Bridges. Thank you, Benny Bills. Anthony Sixto, seeing everything I hoped to see out of Mikal. Get contact at the basket, get free throws, get rhythm. Cat 2 big clutch shots. The silver lining in real time. I'm so happy this is a happy post game. My God, I'm so happy this is a happy post game. Anthony, I co-sign all of it, man. I was mildly annoyed we ended up in overtime because I wanted Cat to have the moment of those 2 big threes being the daggers when you need it the most. This works too. I'll say, Shawn, this works too.
This does work. Although funny thing is, I almost bet Knicks under 106.5 points. And if I bet that and I saw them go to overtime the way they did at 106, I would have been very upset.
Yeah, that would have been frustrating. Especially that foul call that sent the game into overtime.
Yes.
Thank you, Anthony. Appreciate the contribution. Robert Cross. Wait, I'll let you read this actually.
Wait, is that Shawn of Study Hall of Fame? I'm available. I'm available from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern time this Sunday for the show. Let's go next. Okay, 2 things. 1, Robert, I am glad that you finally realized that we don't do study hall on days when the Knicks play. So that's good. 2nd, as I've told you before, you do not have to pay real American dollars to have production meetings live on air, especially production meetings at 2:15 a.m. Eastern time, which is 11:15 Pacific time for you, which is still past your bedtime. But I appreciate it. Yes, we will be. Study hall will be this Sunday because Knicks do not play Sunday. Study hall will be this Sunday, probably sometime around between 12 and 2.
That works. The post game. The Knicks Film School pod is the John and Jeremy pod is Sunday night, so that works out.
Perfect.
See, live production meeting. Thank you, Robert. I have no idea if it's past your bedtime, Robert. I don't know what time bedtime is or lights out is at the Looney Bin. So, I appreciate them letting you get the super chat out, though, Robert. Love you, buddy.
He said it, not me.
Yeah. David Crockett. Will I be better off not knowing the Bondi thing? Well, now you know it. Unfortunately, we'll find out if you're better off knowing it now because it's what we talked about.
It's not that big of it. on the list on the scale of basketball controversies from 1 to 10, this is a strong 3.
So I thought it was closer to a 7 or 8 this afternoon, especially with some of the fallout with Tibs saying it never happened. Like, I thought this had a chance to linger. I'll be completely honest, it's at like a 1 now, and it only comes back around if like something happens later. The way this game ended, this is now just the Mikal Bridges day. Like, the comments come out, Tibbs refutes them. He goes out, plays great, has a 30-point game, hits the first buzzer beater since 2022, and now it's just about the buzzer beater. Like, the story is now such a non-story. Like, they apparently dapped up. His play didn't drop. Tibbs' coaching and trust in him didn't drop. It's become now it's become a non-story, and that's winning does seem to cure everything, Shawn, with the W, you know?
And to both of their credits, they're both professionals. So no matter what each of them may think about the situation, they knew that a basketball game to play, and they went on, they did their job. David Halberstam, God rest his soul, said, being a professional means doing your job in the days you don't feel like doing them. And I'm not necessarily saying that either of them didn't feel like doing their job today, but each of them sure had a reason to let what happened today distract them and derail them from doing their jobs, and it didn't happen. So kudos to them. So that's why for me it's a 3.
Next up, and this is for you.
Busy. Sean, can't we agree now Mikal is better than Julius? You mean the Julius Randle who plays for the team that's won 11 games in a row? That guy?
With him in the lineup.
With him in the lineup?
Because
Like,
it sends
that
back
guy?
to before he got hurt. Yeah.
Like that guy, right? Like, Busy, I commend you for dying on this hill multiple times. For those who do not know, Busy and I have had a back and forth because Busy has been yelling about how Mikal is clear of Julius from his days in Brooklyn, because he's like, Mikal, it's very reductive. It's Mikal is better defensively, and offensively they're the same. And which is funny because everyone who has been, you have pointed this out, John has pointed this out, Benji's pointed this out, DJ's pointed this out. When Julius gets the ball, he attracts attention in ways that Mikal Bridges does not. And that matters. So go back to the lab and figure out how you can refute that. You're probably just going to ignore it because you can't. But that's a fact.
Busy also just, the Julius Randle thing is just a thing for him. He just can't stand how Julius plays, the type of player he is. Not being able to be good without the ball or be effective without the ball, which we've talked about gravity a ton. This is the DJ Zulo hill that he likes to plant his flag on. Julius Randle had 25 on 12 points tonight, on 12 attempts tonight. I don't like, they're figuring out how to win with him too. And the Knicks won a lot of games with him. I do hear the defensive argument. I don't think busy. I don't think Mikal Bridges. I did it again. I don't think Julius Randle is holding Anthony Simons to 2 of 11 or whatever he shot tonight. I also don't think Julius Randle is scoring 6 points against the Lakers last Thursday. Like, I think one is very clear of the other on offense, and one is very clear of the other on defense. And I like Julius Randle, so I don't think for me it's a Mikal Bridges RJ Barrett conversation. Like, they're both destined to be the third best player on a team, and Mikal Bridges right now, if he plays like this, can absolutely be the third best player on this team, and hopefully a successful one. That's my contributions to this thing that Shawn has with Busy. I'll just say that, and Busy knows where to find me, whether I want to ignore his DM or not.
It actually kind of died with me. So it's funny that, like, he brought this up today when I'm sure he didn't bring it up after the Laker game. But when again, because to your point, when Jalen Brunson goes out the Laker game, Julius Randle isn't going to be like, well, Shawn, what are we going to do? He's going to be like, all right, give me. So there you go.
Next up from CC Kirby, Mike Breen just mentioned that this was That was Jamal's last game of the year. I hope that we can see they can somehow get him for more next year. He's been fantastic every game. I think you might get your wish. This isn't an indictment of Clyde. He's just flatly getting up there in years, not traveling as much. And as the post Walt Clyde Frazier era of MSG broadcasts come into play, it wouldn't shock me if you're getting a rotation of Alan Hahn and Wally, of course, and Monica McKnight and Jamal Crawford, who I think, I mean, even Wally, I got to say, as much as people have given him crap over the years, I think he's done a fine job this year. I think all of them have done a fine job. It's just Clyde is Clyde. Like, he leaves when he wants to leave.
Absolutely.
You know? So
yeah, I think we'll be seeing Jamal more next year. He does an amazing job. So, and to your point, like everyone, like listen, the Knicks broadcast team is best in the league. And granted, yes, I am biased because I'm a Knicks fan, but like honestly, like I'll put you like this: the two best broadcast teams are in New York. And we are blessed to have the people that we have calling games on both sides of the river.
Yeah. I don't want to acknowledge any Brooklyn Nets props though. So them and the Yes Network can go to hell. So. Next up, Kevin Anishevsky. I'll answer this one. Looked like Houston 2024 game became Boston 2022 game. Only the last shot became the Boston 2022 game. I do get the spirit of what you're saying. And I likened this, I think, either in the open or in my notes to this being like Houston when they played them last year. That like the Rockets last season when the phantom foul on Brunson game, right? Yes. The Rockets were just a bitch to play that whole night, and the Knicks lost by the smallest of margins. And then this game, like there was a part of me that I didn't go through all the numbers, but like between the offensive rebounding, the way the elite perimeter defense of Tamani Kamara and Scoot Henderson and Shaden Sharp and what you were seeing out of Portland tonight was forcing the Knicks to just not prioritize taking threes. And they were using their spacing to get rim reads and take shots in the paint. Like the points in the paint discrepancy tonight is stark when you stare at it, as well as just attempts in general in the paint compared to what the Blazers did. And look, the Blazers clearly are missing that number one. Maybe it becomes Scoot Henderson. Maybe they draft the guy in the upcoming draft. But this Blazers team, it's building a defensive identity, and then their offensive identity is offensive rebounds. And if they get hot from three, then they've got a puncher's chance, which you saw tonight. What they're missing very clearly is a floor general, which is why the turnovers, like the organized chaos that they force you to play into, it's like, yes, we just like beat you up on the defensive end, and now we're going a million miles an hour, and you're either going to end up with the ball because we turned it over, or an offensive rebound is going to happen because we missed a shot. That was chaos playing which reminds me, Kevin, to your point, of the Houston game from last season. So
if I'm a Portland Trailblazers fan, I'm looking at the box score and I see 16 of 25 from the free throw line and 25 turnovers. I'm sick. Like 20 turnovers, they win the game.
On a night they hit 17 threes, Shawn.
Yes,
like
exactly.
The Blazers hit 17 threes. Now the Knicks end up hitting a bunch. The two cat threes and the Bridges three actually got them to 12 of 31 from three, which gets them to 39%, which is a good night. But think about that. We were staring at them having like 8 threes in the entire game for the majority of this one. And then that last stretch is what got them to where they were. But like turnovers, 25 turnovers to your point. The Knicks won the points off turnover battle 31-16. Now offensive rebounds, 21 for the Blazers, 11 for the Knicks. Like they won the possession battle in that way. Now attempts is what I wanted to look at, because this is what I stared at. Shout out to Pivot Fade for this look. So paint field goal attempts, Shawn. So the Knicks took 34 shots in the paint tonight. the Portland Trailblazers took 19 shots
Oof.
in the paint. So the Knicks were living at the rim, and to rim attempts in general, the Knicks were 13 of 18, and then the Blazers down the stretch really upped that up. Got to RA isn't rim attempts, is it? So stick to what I said with points, the shots in the paint. 34 field goal attempts in the paint, and then 19 for the Blazers. So
36% of their shots were points in the paint.
Yep.
We almost lost to a team that had 25 turnovers.
Yeah.
Good Lord.
Yeah. So thank you, Kevin. Ryan Wong, first time, long time, was at the game. Oh, what a game to be at. My God. Ridiculous playoffs atmosphere for a game in March. Remember when Mikal couldn't shoot above the break three? Yep. Someone commented earlier that, of course, it's a Mikal Bridges above the break three to win the game in overtime. Man, what a game to be at, Shawn.
Listen, a shout out to Kyle Burnley, because I remember last year he said after we had beat the Lakers in Staples, yes, I still call it Staples, he said something along the lines of when the league is not ready for the Knicks to be good, legit championship contenders, because we are going to take over arenas across the country and not just in the Southeast Division. I have never heard such audible "Let's go Knicks" chants in Portland.
Mm-hmm.
Portland.
Yep.
Do you know where
crowd,
Portland
too.
is?
That's a good crowd. The only thing to care about is the Blazers. So, of course, that's a good crowd, you know?
Portland is a good crowd. And to hear that in Portland, and the other reason why this team, I've been watching this team since 1992. We don't win in that building.
Mm-hmm.
I looked it up. The Knicks have won at Portland 5 times this century going to tonight. 5.
Ooh, do you have the years?
Yes, I do have the years.
So they won last year. Jalen Brunson had 40 plus.
Mm-hmm.
The Quickly's rookie year, they didn't. The next year was the Anthony Simons game when they blew a big lead. Did they win? Yes, they won the 2023. They won there because Deuce McBride had a clutch game. That was one of Deuce's first big games. It was the end of a road trip too. They had just played the LA back to back and then beat the Lakers on the night of the Oscars.
Yes. So
and
you said 2024. You said last year. You said 2
last
years
year,
ago.
2023, and last year.
Yes.
So those are two.
There are 1, 2, 3. 6 times this century. So there's 4 of the time they won in Portland this century.
All right. Did they win in Portland the year of
this off? This is going to be amazing.
The 54 win team?
Do you want me to tell you or no?
Yeah, I'm actually capped out at the 2 that I remembered. I think I proved my my photographic memory bona fides with listing the 5 games that they played in Portland under Tibs. So what are the other 4?
They've won in 2015, 112, 110.
Oh, wow.
They won, and then you have to go back to January of 2011. They won 100-86. Then you have to go back to January of 2007. They won 99-81. And then you have to go back to the year 2000. If you know, you know. They won 93-89. So they have won in that building. Well, I don't know if that building, the Rose Garden.
Whatever, the Moda Center. Yeah, it's the same place, just different names.
Yeah. They have won in that building 6 times this century. 2 of them, and now 3 years in a row.
Yep. So back to back under Tibs. There you go.
So before that, 3 times in 23 years.
There you go. Rafa, Mikal Bridges Bridges game part 2. Ugly win. Yeah, we didn't even talk about the refs. Refs had Blazers money line. I actually don't think. I guess we did say it during the game during the monologue that they largely let them play tonight until they didn't.
Yes.
And that was my frustration. It was a very physical game, and Cat elbowed a dude in the face and it wasn't called. Josh Hart was getting hacked on drives, wasn't called. OG got hacked and dribbled the ball out of bounds, and they called the baseline out of bounds. They said he was out of bounds. They called that and not the hack. So it's why I thought that led to the Blazers being able to dictate some of the different things. Yeah, I I was frustrated with those two calls that Scoot got in crunch time, Rafa. I largely like when the refs let them play, though. I don't know how you feel, Shawn.
I don't think they have Blazers money line, because if they had Blazers money line, there's no chance in hell they would have stopped the game to review that shot clock.
Yes, good call.
Because from here, I could tell that didn't.
Yeah. That was begging for some collusion. If anything, they might have had Knicks not money line at the end of the day. Like, oh well, Josh Hart's dribbling into nowhere. We need to stop the game real quick to let them get an ATO. Thank you, Rafa, for the super chat. You read this one, Shawn.
Hazu again. Josh owes Mikal dinner big time. Yes, he does.
Oh my gosh, yes he does. Oh my gosh, yes he does.
I expect to see them two at either Nobu or Italy or somewhere in the city, or a Tao within the next week to 10 days.
Yeah. Thank you, Hush. Next from Jeremy Goldstein.
Hey.
Don't let Mikal madness distract you from the fact that the Knicks are 2-0 in the PJ Tucker era. What a fun game. Let's go, Knicks. I was ready for this to be something about Daredevil, Jeremy, and it turned out to be a very good super chat. Yeah. You heard that?
Yes, I heard that.
The pregame pod where he was like, Daredevil was great tonight. Let's go, Knicks. I was like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do with this. We're talking about the Knicks and the Blazers, and you're bringing up Daredevil.
Shout out to Douglas. Motherfucker. We got PJ Tucker.
We signed to PJ Tucker. Yes. Shout out, Dougie. Next up, here, I'll let you read this.
Devon Snipes, thank you for your contribution. Please shout out the hashtag Bing Bong group chat. Shout out to the hashtag Bing Bong group chat. Hot take. Bing Bong would have been a much better thing if that season did not go to hell and every team trolled us, allowing every team to troll us with that for the season, especially when you realize what Bing Bong is. So shout out to the Bing Bong group chat. I will die on that hill that Bing Bong was actually very creative. It's just that the Knicks decided to screw it up.
Shout out to the Bing Bong group chat. I feel like I'm an open-minded person, and I have allowed myself, as I've gotten older, to have different perspectives, potentially change mine. I thought Bing Bong was stupid in the moment. I thought Bing Bong was stupid when it went away. And I thought Bing Bong was stupid for the majority of my life after it. Well, my life. When I would hear Bing Bong before that, I thought it was stupid. Outside of that character from Inside Out, I thought it was great. I thought it was stupid. Then I talked to Shawn, and then I talked to Mensa, and I talked to people who live in New York City and didn't grow up on Long Island like I did. And the identity that you can find in Bing Bong as a chant, as a slogan, as a catchphrase, I've grown to appreciate it, is what I'll say. So I don't think it's stupid anymore. I just don't think it's for me, is what I'll say. Is that fair enough?
That's fair. I will say that because people used it to troll us, we as a collective hated it. Mm-hmm. People like, oh, that's because, like, listen, if Bing Bong started last season,
we'd have shirts. Yeah,
we'd have shirts. We'd be saying to everybody, everybody said we'd love it. So now, I actually troll people for now because other teams are so used to trolling us with it that when we do it, it's like, now when like especially like the Atlanta fans, I will say that to them all the goddamn time. But yeah, Bing Bong just came out at the wrong season, and to your point, the side talk video where it went where the side talk video where it blew up. Mm-hmm. It is literally a half a second in that whole video. Yeah, so I never understood why everyone glammed onto that portion of it.
And it's like my 15th favorite thing in the video. Like, yes. I still to this day on my birthday send out the clip. Like, you know what? Tom Brady's a bleepity bleep Tom Brady. Okay. Like, that gave me that. We have de Blasio. We have Cuomo. It was rough. We could just keep going.
Motherfucking overtime. New York.
Tell me a little some KD. Don't you regret not coming to the if they do trade for Kevin Durant this summer? It's like tell me a little something, KD. Aren't you glad you're coming to the Knicks? Yeah. Shout out to the Bing Bong group chat. Thank you for watching. I'll let you read the next couple.
Yeah, and I just realized I think I know Devon. Shout out to you,
shout out Devon.
Yeah, I was like, his name looks
Put
familiar.
Shawn in the Bing Bong group chat if you know him.
Jason, shout out to Jason M. I called on study hall. JB being out is giving the rest of them time to figure out their offense instead of just relying on Brunson to carry them. You did call on study hall. JB has been the crutch that we have relied on. And again, we are so lucky to have that crutch because most teams would love to have that crutch, but it forces us to have to figure out how to win in other ways because, look, to win in the playoffs, at some point, you're going to have to play left-handed. Or if you're lefty, you're going to have to play right-handed. So these are valuable reps that hopefully will, there may be a game where JB fouls out. There may be a game where JB just doesn't have it in the playoffs. So it will be good for us to learn how to win other ways besides save us 11.
Yeah, you said it throughout the post game tonight. They could turn this into a positive. So
yeah,
thank you, Jason.
Especially since they can't do save us 30. Hi, busy.
Yeah. Next up, you're up.
Jeff J says, shout out to Jeff still being awake, although he has a young daughter, so I'm not surprised. Mikal Bridges handshake John Cena, generation performance after a heel turn. Hashtag F them picks. Was it a heel turn? I don't know if it was a heel turn, but I get where you're coming from.
In the eyes of some, it could be viewed as a heel turn. Are you talking about Bridges' heel? Was that a heel turn or Cena?
Yes.
Was that
No, Cena's definitely a heel turn.
When is WrestleMania?
WrestleMania is April 19th and 20th.
Oh, so the first weekend of the playoffs. That's interesting.
Oh, yeah.
Ah, damn it. Oh, I'm so mad now. Okay.
Why, you wanted to go? You wanted to watch?
No, I like watching WrestleMania. That's like my one wrestling weekend of the year,
So guess what? Remember, WrestleMania and all pay-per-views now called premium live events are on Peacock. So you can watch WrestleMania on demand anytime you want.
there's the live aspect. Like if you watched last year's WrestleMania on demand after Twitter reacted to it, or all the people watch wrestling reacted to it already, then there's less luster to it, Okay.
So I'll tell a quick story.
Yeah, go ahead.
WrestleMania 39. I was not able to watch night 2 live because I had something to do, whatever. So I said, all right, I'll just watch it in the morning. And I had muted all the wrestling words, like muted them all. And on Twitter, and then shout out to my man Bankai, who tweeted a picture of Cody Rhodes looking sad after he lost the title. And I was like, oh, and he just said, like, basically was like, I don't know where we go from here. I'm like, this motherfucker. So last year, I watched it live, like maybe like an hour after I was an hour behind. But when I tell you this thing was like, so I say that to say, if the Knicks are playing in a playoff game during the time of WrestleMania, it's not the end of the world. But yes, WrestleMania will be one to watch this year.
Here's what I'm going to say. Adam Silver, give me a 1:00 start on Saturday or a 1:00 start on Sunday. That's all I ask. So that way we can get done with all our T-squared responsibilities and our post-game responsibilities before WrestleMania.
If the Knicks play on Sunday in the playoffs, it's usually 1 or 3:30. Like, we don't play Sunday at 8 p.m.
The Hawks game from game 1, that was an 8:00 start. I remember that. I went to the beach that morning because I was like, I got all day until this playoff game. They were the last game of the weekend. So
that was COVID. That was different.
From your lips to God's ears, I'm with you. We actually have other playoff games to go to. Shout out to the Knicks for being but playoff opening weekend experiences. Mm-hmm. The Cavs game was a Saturday, 1 p.m. They were the first game of that weekend. And then the Sixers game was a Saturday, and it was the second game. I believe it was a 4:00 game, 5 o'clock game.
Game?
It was 6. No. It was 6 o'clock. here's how I know, and
Which
you're gonna be
game?
mad. The Sixers game 1. It's a Saturday game
Yes.
because the Mets played the Dodgers that day, and it was a 4:00 start, and it was ending as the Sixer game was starting.
That wouldn't make me mad, but I remember you're right because I was actually at a wedding for game 1, and I was absolutely watching the game on my phone at the reception, not giving a rat's you know what.
Yep, I remember because the Mets won that game. Starling Marte hit a gigantic 3-run homer, and Starling Marte was one of those guys that Kevin said a thing about before the season, and then allowed me, because baseball requires you to be patient, to laugh in his face. And I just turned when he hit the home run and just pointed and laughed at it. It was great. Love you, Kevin. I hope you come to more watch parties where I get to laugh at you. Next up, my cousin, Ryan Eggers. I'm just happy I can finally go to bed. And you probably did about an hour and a half ago when you sent in the super chat, but I got to respond to his text too. I believe all I got was a Mikal bleep and Bridges. Mikal in a bunch of all caps. Yes. Thank you, cuz. Love you. And I'm so glad you got to finally go to bed too. One moment after this road trip, I'll finally get to go to bed too. And shout out to Shawn. You have work in the morning, which is in like a couple hours, and you're staying up with me. So thank you, sir.
I will be working from home later today.
Oh, there you go. Well done. Busy with another one. There is no bail for Josh. Our best offensive player had to play the corner and not be in action because our worst player had to be in every action or be useless on the court. Busy, I don't think anybody's disagreeing with you. Like,
yeah,
the Josh Hart thing is a thing. The problem right now is you don't really have a lot of good options, and so you just kind of have to make lemonade in crunch time. I actually thought after the first couple he's wide open shots that were annoying, they brought him into the action with purpose, which led to some better looks. And it's what I hope we start to see. To the larger point that Busy's alluding to, though, Cat not getting to be part of this is the part that's annoying. Like, you might get some good stuff with Josh Hart, bringing him into the action when Brunson has the ball or when Bridges has the ball. But if it's Cat, like if he's not on the floor, you could bring Cat into the action, and then like, what are you doing on a Cat and Brunson pick and roll? You know, you're left with figuring out options. So,
yeah, I think the next step, the next evolution of the non-JB egalitarian offense, or maybe that hopefully becomes a part of the JB slightly egalitarian offense, is like, why, like, who passed the law that Josh Hart has to be in the game at crunch time? Well, down the stretch in like a situation like the Laker game, like, all right, one possession, like, we should not, to Busy's point, we should not have to stick arguably our best offensive player in the corner to play this guy who cramps the spacing. So, to Andrew's point, you're not getting any pushback from us.
Yeah, I think we've all kind of, even like, I hate to bring his name in, but Macri's even been like, yeah, it's what you have to do with Josh Hart when he's out there in crunch time, but then you're stuck not using Cat, not using Bridges, not using Anunoby in a spot where they're better offensive options than Josh Hart. And to Jason M's point earlier, it puts just a gigantic load on Jalen Brunson. Like, that's why I think he's the clutch player of the year if he plays 4 more games. Like, what he's had to be in clutch time and crunch time this season is a lot of why they are where they are. Yeah. Oh, so hold on. I need to watch a replay. People are saying Mikal traveled on the buzzer beater. So I may rip this and have us watch this.
Okay.
So I'll let you read this next super chat. Thank you, Busy, by the way.
Thank you, Busy. And by the way, I would like Jalen Brunson to play 4 more games because I have a parlay of him winning clutch player of the year and Cade Cunningham winning most improved player of the year, and I need that bet to hit. Now, I don't need it to hit. I want it to hit. I'm not like in Bagel Football Key. All right. Sam F., thank you for your generous contribution. First come from behind buzzer beater since Marbury in 2006. 20 effing years, a gift to all of us that stayed up until 1 a.m. Yes, Sam F, because West Coast losses suck, especially West Coast losses that like every time we lose to the Lakers at like I remember during the We Here season, we lost to the Lakers on a Tuesday night at like 1 o'clock in the morning. And I'm just like, being tired after a loss sucks. Being exhausted after a loss sucks. So I'm with you there.
Yeah, I'm of the same mindset as well. I'm still looking at I'm looking for the right one. I'll get to it in a second.
Yeah,
Kevin Anishevsky, starting lineup had a 110 net rating. A 110 offensive rating and a 97 defensive rating tonight. Keep it.
You
is he saying keep it as in like?
No, this is part. I don't. This is part of his agenda of Bridges in the starting lineup, which he's claiming for all year. However, the current starting lineup, I'm pretty sure you don't want that for the rest of the year because that puts Jalen Brunson on the bench.
Or maybe he is saying that. I don't know.
I think he's saying. I think he is. I think he is implying that Bridges should be in the starting lineup. That's his.
I agree.
That's his agenda.
Okay. Thank you, Kevin, for the agenda. Okay. I think we're ready to do this now because StreamYard's letting me. But I just want to get the super chat out the way. Westchester Lester. Thank you, Lester, for the super chat. Brunson style won't win championships. Quoted by Kobe Bryant. I don't know how Kobe Bryant said that about Jalen Brunson. That's a very dark joke. But the fact that what he did say was heliocentric. The James Harden way was what he was saying back then. Can't win championships.
Which is hilarious considering how whatever.
What? They have to finish. How Kobe won his championships.
Well, like the last two, like Kobe's like, wait a minute, I'm being triple teamed in the corner, 23 feet from the basket. This is going up, but whatever.
I think that's a bridge too far in the department of anti-Jalen Brunson. Look, I think Brunson actually would agree with you, and we just kind of forget this. The guy had a playoff series end because he didn't find the open man, and then the following season found the open man to end a playoff series himself. He found Josh Hart open against the Sixers. We're a week and a half, 2 weeks removed from a Grizzlies game where he drew the double team when he broke down the defense and found OG Anunoby. Like, I think we're fine. And with Jalen Brunson at the helm of this, even if sometimes he does get a little ISO Brunson, like he's the clutch player of the year for a reason. I agree. Involving all your teammates can lead to more success, which is why I guess we'll find out how high the ceiling can reach with Jalen Brunson as your best player. Westchester Lester.
He'd still be playing if Josh Hart took the floater instead of taking another step against the Lakers because they trapped Brunson and he found the open man. So I don't think Jalen Brunson is. I don't think. When I think of heliocentric players, heliocentric systems, I don't think of this one. Like, to your point, he was referring to James Harden style, where it's just like for 48 minutes of dribble, get.
Yeah. Okay, let's watch this.
Okay.
Add this to the stage.
Knicks break. Hart gets it right back to Bridges. Bridges puts up a three. Bang! Bang!
Did he?
Wins it at the buzzer.
We're gonna rewatch it. Does he dribble?
It must be he took 2
Knicks
steps.
break. Hart gets it right back to Bridges.
Yep, he took 2 steps and dribbled.
You know what?
Oh well.
Yeah. In real time, you don't notice it. In real time, I'm not sweating.
He took 2 steps, then dribbled. That's a travel.
Fine. Good. Let's go back throughout the rest of the game and call all the travels.
So,
and then the Blazers would have 40 turnovers, and the Knicks would have 25. Like, it has to be. If he didn't dribble at all, then I'm with you. But I'm not calling that. Let the report come out tomorrow, and then let them cry me a river and get over it. 3 more. We're gonna skip the scoreboard tonight, by the way. Bernard Richardson Join the Substack. It's a constant emergency live stream.
That is factually correct.
Yeah, so I've heard. Kevin Danishevsky, you read this one, and then I'll read the last one.
I said I was fine with Triple J from Mikal. Come on, Shawn. I've just seen posts that are like get back picks for him, which is dumb. 2-game sample size, but Portland's better than Sacramento. Okay, so you're saying, come on, Shawn. Then you're telling me about 2-game sample sizes about Portland and Sacramento. Number one. Number two, I think during the halftime Zoom, you and someone else intimated that, yeah, we should have traded Mikal, let's just for a superstar, and then threw around Triple J's name. And I'm like, my definition of superstar may be different from yours. Number three, do not bring Twitter arguments to me. I didn't say that shit. So that don't say that shit to me. And four, again, if this team can be better and it involves trading Mikal Bridges, we're not going to Dow Maury ourselves and say it has to be a superstar, which is why Tyrese Halliburton is not a Philadelphia 76er.
This is a fact. Yes. Kevin, protect your peace. Stop arguing with Twitter.
That is also factually correct.
My 2 cents there.
Although I had to dunk on somebody today on Twitter because they was like,
Listen,
whatever.
You are protecting your peace by dunking on someone. That's fine. But
yes.
Reacting to it and letting it get to you. So I got to be honest with you, and we'll wrap up because we have 2 more super chats from the same person. I actually have like a pleasant experience on the internet these days. Now, that might be my own curation of my timeline. I have a lot of words muted. I have a lot of people muted in this sense of like, I don't see a lot of the real world stuff. I try not to. I get enough of, I inform myself in other ways through conversations.
Yes.
But like, I gotta be honest, my Twitter experience is I log on and it's like, oh, Juan Soto's a Met, and like, oh, check out the pregame pod, and it's actually quite pleasant. And I would encourage people, if you do need to be online, then curate.
Yes.
There are options and ways to do that. As best as you need to. If you're like ready to get into the trenches, then by all means go right ahead. But a lot of my timeline lately is like Severance theories, and White Lotus theories, and this movie's coming out. I found out today through logging onto Twitter that The Dark Knight is going back into theaters in IMAX on May 25th. Coincidentally, that's the same weekend as Mission Impossible, and I'm very confused how there are IMAX screens available. But I texted my group chat with my sister-in-law and her boyfriend, like, hey, double date. Let's go see The Dark Knight in IMAX. Why not? The Knicks season will probably be over by then. So why not? I should be free that Saturday. All right. Last 2 of the night. First, we'll start here with Kev Words. Shout out Kevin, producer Kev. Are you still on vacation, by the way? Anyway, Denny traveled before his and 1 too. There you go. Call that travel too, folks. If we're calling the other travel, call this travel too. And then from Kevin, another one. Somebody let me know when they gift the celebration. Great show tonight, fellas. Great show tonight indeed. Shawn with the W, a gigantic W in Portland. That will do it for this edition of the Knicks Film School pregame show presented by BetUS. Please, people watching, like this video. Remember to subscribe to the channel. We are, I believe, 370 subscribers away from the big 2K. So please help us get that last mile before we get over the mountain. That last hurdle before the mountain top is reached, I should say. If you're listening, of course, like this video. Oh, excuse me. Leave a 5-star rating and a review. Any final words, Shawn?
To the 1,426 people still watching at 2:55 a.m. Eastern time, you people are absolutely nuts, and I love you all. The issues that we spoke about today, these are issues I don't mind having because I am old enough to remember trying to convince myself that maybe Langston Galloway was a piece. No disrespect to Langston Galloway because he's an NBA player, but look how far we've come. Life is a journey. Enjoy the ride.
Thank you, everybody.